This is Optimal Startup Daily, episode 702, The Workplace, The Delicate Art of Giving Feedback, by Robert C. Pozen of Gottman.com. And I'm Dan, I am your host and your narrator here, and welcome to Optimal Startup Daily. If you're a regular, you know how this works. We take some great blogs on entrepreneurship, and I read either one post or two shorter posts to you each and every day, including weekends and holidays. And right now we're going to get to it as we start optimizing your life. The Workplace, The Delicate Art of Giving Feedback, by Robert C. Pozen of Gottman.com. To be an effective manager, you need to be skilled at giving out both praise and criticism. While praise is easy to give, it's far more challenging and unpleasant to criticize your employees. Yet the practice of management requires you to occasionally show employees where they need to improve. Thus, it is vital for managers to learn how and when to give negative feedback. The first thing to realize is that people generally respond more strongly to negative events than positive ones. In other words, we are usually more upset about losing $100 than we are happy about winning $100. In fact, in an influential book, John Gottman, now a professor emeritus at the University of Washington, suggested that positive interactions must outnumber negative interactions by at least 5-1 in order for a marriage to succeed. This observation is also true in the workplace, as Professor Andrew Miner, then of the University of Minnesota, and colleagues discovered in a study published in 2005. They recorded employees' moods several times each day, and each time asked them if any events, such as a positive interaction with a coworker, had occurred within the past few hours. Their results showed that employees reacted to a negative interaction with their boss 6 times more strongly than they reacted to a positive interaction with their boss. This suggests that negative feedback can have significant adverse effects on an employee's well-being and, presumably, their productivity. What does this observation mean for managers? Put simply, managers need to be cautious before criticizing employees. To start with, you should avoid inadvertently criticizing any of your employees. For instance, if an employee writes a first draft of a written document, some managers might want to suggest some minor revisions, even if the draft was generally good. In these situations, managers should clearly communicate that their revisions are merely suggestions coming from a second pair of eyes, and that they aren't criticizing their employees' performance. More generally, managers need to weigh the trade-offs involved in making negative feedback. If you criticize your employees, you will likely provide some corrective information, but you will also put your employee in a bad mood. If an error is so inconsequential that the corrective value of criticism is low, it might make sense for you to keep that feedback to yourself. Of course, there are situations when a manager must provide negative feedback. On these occasions, don't lose sight of your purpose for offering that feedback, to improve the employee's performance going forward. As much as you might want to excoriate your employee for what you believe is a spectacularly awful performance, your business gains nothing from it. In fact, shaming your employee is likely to have substantial negative effects on your business. In research reported in HBR, Christine Porath and Christine Pearson found that many employees considered themselves to be on the receiving end of workplace incivility, such as overly harsh criticism from their boss. According to their research, nearly half of these employees decide to intentionally decrease their productivity. Instead, in order to obtain the desired corrective effects of negative feedback, you should take steps to soften the emotional blow. You want your employees to focus on the message that you're trying to convey rather than any intense negative emotions. At a bare minimum, make sure to deliver your criticism in private. There's nothing more humiliating than being criticized in front of your coworkers, and it is critical to keep your tone collaborative. Make clear that your employee still has your support and your respect. One strategy for providing feedback is to start by literally saying, "Let me provide you with some feedback." That statement lets the employee prepare emotionally for what you're about to say. In my experience, it also seems to activate the calm, rational part of the employee's brain rather than the defensive, emotional part. Negative feedback is a key tool in the effective manager's kit, but you must use it wisely and carefully, or else they will do more harm than good. Focus on potential future improvements instead of dwelling on past errors, and think twice whether an error truly requires negative feedback. Criticism can have an unexpectedly large impact on an employee's happiness and productivity. And this approach should be generally reversed when it comes to praise. Unlike criticism, managers should bestow their employees with praise generously, publicly, and at every opportunity, especially at the culmination of projects. While most bosses seem to think that they dole out praise by the dozen, I rarely meet an employee who feels that their boss sufficiently values his or her achievements. So, as often as possible, tell your employees how much you appreciate their commitment and hard work. You just listened to the post titled, "The Workplace, The Delicate Art of Giving Feedback" by Robert C. Pozen of Gottman.com. Okay, thanks to Robert for the post today, and thank you to Drs. John and Julie Gottman, the founders of Gottman.com, for letting us share the articles from their site. Now, for over 40 years, Drs. John and Julie Gottman have devoted their life to the research and practice of fostering healthy, long-lasting relationships through the training of clinicians and the creation of transformative products for couples around the world. To learn more about them, you can check out Gottman.com, and as you might imagine, their work is a perfect fit for the content that we have over on Optimal Relationships Daily. So to hear a lot more from Gottman.com, check out that podcast, Optimal Relationships Daily, wherever you're hearing this. But that's a wrap for today. I hope you enjoyed the post and that you have a great rest of your day. So I'll see you back here tomorrow, where your optimal life awaits.